All right, what is up, everybody? Had a heck of a game. Oklahoma beats Michigan 24-13. It was slow at the beginning. I just want instant reactions, guys. I'll give you mine, but David, you being a former Michigan quarterback, just tell me, what did you think offensively about, what they allowed Bryce Underwood to do, and then what Bryce was able to do. He ended up 9 of 24, 142 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Just your thoughts right off the bat. What are you feeling?
Blaine, I told you in the studio this week, if Michigan loses to Oklahoma, can it at least be because Oklahoma is an elite football team? I
Yeah.
don't know if they're elite, but they are really, really good. That defense is flying around. They are disciplined, and John Mateer showed why we believed into him so much. He's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the country. Now, not perfect. He made mistakes. Oklahoma made mistakes, and I think it was Michigan's inability to capitalize on those mistakes that is so frustrating. But Jake, let me hit the point that you're talking about, because I've seen a lot of frustration on social media that the game planning and offensive play calling was just far too vanilla. I need everyone to just have a little bit of perspective and understand that Bryce Underwood just turned 18 like a week ago, and he just walked into Norman, Oklahoma, and really led that team with poise and composure and commanded that team. I know everyone wants him right this second to be Patrick Mahomes, but it's just not going to happen. But I think you saw out there the ceiling is that. He can be that type of player. He can be that good. And before you get too frustrated for Michigan fans, just understand that some good things did happen. I think the defense held up pretty well against Oklahoma's traditional run game, but then John Mateer adds his element in the zone read game and passing downfield. Justice Haynes, home run back. You got to be excited if you're a Michigan fan about that. And then, look, the schedule moving forward. This is not a conference loss. You need to regroup as quickly as possible, get ready for Big Ten play. And on the Oklahoma side of things, what a great non-conference win before you begin a grueling SEC schedule.
But Blaine, a lot of talk's going to be on Bryce Underwood. We talked about the play calling going into this game, and I said the same thing that I said about Arch going on the road to play Ohio State. It's not just that you're new and you may have to adjust the way you would normally call it, but you're also going in a really hostile environment. And it's not just about the physical ability to throw the ball or run the ball. The mental aspect of it, going on the road in this type of atmosphere, in this type of scenario. And as much as people will talk about the play calling or lack of creativity or imagination down the field, I'm telling you right now, I picked John Mateer to win the Heisman. And you brought John Mateer to Oklahoma for this reason. You brought John Mateer to come to Oklahoma and against Michigan go 21 of 34 for 270 with a touchdown. You brought him in to carry the ball 19 times, a lot of those quarterback design runs for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. John Mateer touched the ball on every one of the touchdowns tonight in a big game, and he is just continuing, in my opinion. I think he put himself at the top of the Heisman list as we head into week 3. I know it's early, but I'm telling you, they brought a boy in and he cooked.
Well, yeah, the couple takeaways, one I take from this game is you knew for John Mateer to be the real deal, he's going to have plays you're going to remember in this football games. And there's 2 to 4, maybe even 5, where he was in the pocket. Wink Martindale called something fantastic, and he made 1 to 2 guy miss and hit a guy down the field. I'm pretty sure on that big play where they almost scored. I'm glad you brought that up or what you were talking about, because I wish I approached the way I did for Bryce Underwood, the way I should have for Arch Manning. You don't expect him to go save the world right now. At least let him build a villain backstory for a couple games. And Michigan's going to be fine. I didn't mind the play calling. In my opinion, what I would have liked to see Bryce Underwood with more than 3 carries. Absolutely. You look on the other side, you see John Mateer have 19, which I don't think he's going to be able to keep doing through this brutal schedule in this game. And I know Michigan lost on the scoreboard, but to me in this game, there's not a real loser. If anything, Oklahoma's the winner. I think both these teams will be fine. Michigan will regroup, but Oklahoma right now, even without a run game, which is worrisome. It's hard to go win a national championship when you're one-dimensional. Oklahoma looks like somewhat a complete team, and I thought the only thing that hurt them the most was special teams. And, Jake, I'm sure you'd love to talk about that.
Yeah, well, before we get into the special teams aspect, and, again, at the end of the day, field position a lot of times dictates outcomes. You look at not being able to field a punt, keeping Michigan in that game in the second half and still finding a way to win. But a lot of the talk, David, going into this game was how poor Oklahoma's offensive line played against Illinois State. And it's funny, I went on the radio before the game on their game day stuff on Oklahoma, and was like, it may sound crazy, but when you step up in competition and the speed changes, sometimes the timing for the offensive line, it helps out because you're used to going against, that level of defense. That's what you practice against. And timing, just like for a quarterback and a wide receiver for the offensive line, is huge. And not that it was, Oklahoma ran the ball amazingly tonight, but you run it 40 times, you get 138 yards, you get 2 touchdowns, and you add some big plays when you need it. But at the end of the day, it's the 3rd and 9s when John Mateer shakes off a catfire blitz from the field that you dialed up perfectly and finds a guy for 35 yards to extend a drive that leads to a touchdown. Those are the things at the end of the day that the biggest of the biggest make. How, before you get into to the Michigan side defensively, how good is this Oklahoma team?
Yeah, but that kind of stuff right there, I can actually live with. You go, you try and get home on a dynamic playmaker, and he's just better than you. Also, was it 3rd? It may have even been 4th down. Michigan cover 0, brings all out pressure, and they slip the back out the back end, and a beautiful floater for a huge first down. If you're going to get beat Michigan, get beat being aggressive like that. That's not what frustrates me so much. It's the missed opportunities with like what Blaine was talking about, the special teams mistakes that Oklahoma make. You got to be able to capitalize on those. One of the things that just comes to mind here is one problem I have with the Arch Manning comparison is Arch Manning's been in college for 3 years now, right? Bryce Underwood hadn't even been in college for 3 months. I mean, if you want to go back to spring training, there are some missed throws, like the misread on the rail route there towards the end of the game. I doubt that's a throw that Bryce Underwood will miss 3 weeks from now, much less 3 years from now, because you can see him growing. And you can say what you will about the game plan, but that 18-year-old kid gave his team a chance to win 1 possession in the 4th quarter on the road against a really good Oklahoma team. And I can't stress enough how good I do think Oklahoma is. Moving forward, we talked about how difficult Oklahoma's schedule is. What are some realistic expectations now that we've seen them 2 weeks in, struggled a little bit to run the ball, but John Mateer makes up for that with the zone read game? Is this a team that can legitimately win the SEC?
I think the ability is there, and Blaine, I want to know what you think when you watch them from a 3-phase standpoint, because, while this is a big win, there's a ton to work on, which is actually a good thing, which means, you haven't hit your ceiling yet. But when I look at this Oklahoma team, I mean, one player to me that has to really become a difference maker for them is Jaden Knott. You look at the first week, and there were some rumors around, well, there was a punishment for a lack of practice, this, that, or the other. And you're like, all right, this is a big game. They're going to take the Lambo out of the garage, drive it around a little bit. He had 4 carries for 9 yards. Really didn't have a big impact on the game. Mateer ran it 19 times. Javante Barnes ran it 6 times. Blaylock ran it 9 times. I mean, he's 4th in the pecking order in reality right now in running back distribution, and whether it's not just running the ball but getting him in the pass game or maybe on special teams. If Oklahoma is going to become an elite team and a championship caliber team, Jaden Knott is going to have to be a piece, at least that hits sometimes and is a decoy in others, Blaine, for them to hit their ceiling. But once again, Deion Burks shows up. I think he's the least talked about full-time wide receiver in college football. Ho-hum, 7 catches, 101 yards, a touchdown, a big play when Oklahoma's backed up to keep his feet in. They've got some pieces, and the offensive line isn't as bad as what people thought it was going to be.
Well, you got to remember, when you go to this week before, they had 3 basic starters out on the offensive line that came back for this game.
Good point.
And I will say this, Jaden Knott, he was one of the guys. I'm pretty sure he was that guy on kick return who muffed that catch, and it ended up Oklahoma getting terrible field position. So Jaden Knott's out there. Just maybe
I thought it was Satania.
Okay, that was the punt, I believe.
Okay,
I believe that was the muff punt, and Jay Knott's the one who dropped it on the kickoff return. So he's out there on special teams. Look, I'm not there every day in practice. We know.
No, I'm just saying he needs to make an impact there.
For
if he's
sure.
not going to be a back that gets
absolutely. You're not going to make it through the SEC, especially with Oklahoma's schedule with John Mateer running it 19 times. You're just not. You're going to, whether it's 1 back, 2 back, or 3 back, you have to have somewhat of a running game. And if anything, it should help you because of John Mateer's wheels. And most of these, when it came to John Mateer runs, were actual quarterback runs, designed quarterback runs. And he just made a play. And I'm saying it's going to be grueling for him to try to go through an SEC schedule and do that. But I do think right now, Deion Burks in the first half, I believe, had 7 catches or at least 7 targets. And Michigan did a phenomenal job in the second half of taking him away, right? In Oklahoma, I will say this. One of the big things I took away with this in this game is when Oklahoma needed a drive. Yeah. Right. If they needed to put something together, not only go and score, but eat up 8-9 minutes of a completely take away Michigan out of this game. If you'd have told me Oklahoma would have beat Michigan by 3 to 4 minutes in time of possession, I don't know if this game would have been that close. I know Oklahoma let some things go, but I'm just telling you right now, this Oklahoma team, I don't know if there's an elite team in college football. Point out a team and tell me you're elite. I can find with them. And maybe the comparison more to Bryce Underwood and Arch Manning that I was bringing up, David. This was both their true first road starts. At least for Arch at Ohio State. So, but I think both these teams would be fine. I don't think you should overreact in this game if you're a Michigan fan.
No, and especially like here's another thing too, Jake. Michigan rushed for 146 yards. On that defense. Michigan rushed for 146. Bryce Underwood, say what you will about play calling and him going 9-24, 0 interceptions. If I threw the football 24 times against that defense, do you know how many interceptions I would have thrown? And also, let's not forget, Marlon Klein at tight end was out in this game. Jayshon Barnum was out in the first half of this game. Those aren't things that Michigan fans should be making excuses for. I don't think you beat Oklahoma even with those guys, but it's something important to keep in mind because a one-score game later in the season with those players can help make the difference.
And you know what's funny? People in the comments will be like, Michigan had 146 yards rushing, but one of those was 75 yards on one play. Like that somehow doesn't count. Like that somehow it's like, oh no, we should be punished.
Hey, quickly.
I always laugh when they're like, but they got 80 yards on one play.
Hey, quickly, David.
That's amazing.
I want to ask you, what did you think about that drive where Michigan burned 2 timeouts?
Can't happen, and that's what I'm talking. It's not to me about you get home on corner fire and can't wrap up John Mateer and he gets out of it and makes a play. That dude's incredible. It's frustrating, but that happens against great players. Burning 2 timeouts on the same drive, those are the kind of mistakes that can't happen. And that's where Sharon Moore, after he comes back from suspension, needs to step up and say, hey, those are the kind of mistakes we won't make later in the season. We're going to grow as our young freshman grows. We have a favorable schedule. Let's move forward and still win this conference and still make the college football playoff. That's very possible. Also going 6-6 is possible. Which one are you going to be?
Well, before we go here, we have a full Sunday recap that we're going to drop in the morning, and then we're going to hop into some previews and predictions. There's some massive games in week 3 that we want to get a front foot on. But, David, before we do go, if you're a Michigan fan, again, there's no need to panic. But you look ahead the schedule. You got Central Michigan at home next, and then you go on the road to Nebraska. What is something the Michigan fans may want to see against Central Michigan in this passing game? Is there anything that could maybe make them feel a little bit better? Because, again, we did all pick Oklahoma to win this football game. But is there anything against Central Michigan maybe Michigan fans can take some solace in?
Be disciplined on both sides of the football. Don't do things like what Blaine was talking about, burning 2 timeouts when you really need them. And I'll give you one more thing very specific here. I love the way Bryce Underwood throws the football on the move. You know how hard it is to throw a football while you're running? If you have a young quarterback that can be that accurate on the move, then move him. And they did it tonight. That was something I thought they did really well. Why is that? Because it eliminates half of the field, which eliminates half of your reads. So if he's going to be that accurate on the move, let's get him on the move. He made some incredible plays downfield that looked like junior and senior type plays as a true freshman. That's something you can hang your hat on later in the season.
All right, well, make sure you guys check out the Sunday recap tomorrow. We're going to get some preview and predictions out. Hell of a game between Oklahoma and Michigan. Obviously, you got what happened down in Gainesville with South Florida, upsetting Florida, Mississippi State, beating Arizona State in an
absolute dog pick by you.
Week 2 delivered.
Hey, big shout out Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
absolutely destroying Virginia Tech.
I think
so they did win. Vanderbilt won.
Killed
Yeah,
them.
Vanderbilt won. Our locks, leans, and dogs went insane.
Okay.
I was
Okay. And
perfect.
what
I'm
about
a
South
6-0.
Carolina? Hold on. Okay. South Carolina's up 24-3. Gotcha.
Yeah. But make sure you check us out. Hit that subscribe button. And look, we're still early. Long way to go. Make sure you're locked into Crain & Company for all the content.